If you carve your name on a tree and come back 10 years later, will it be approximately in the same spot?
And would your name be the same? Also, did the earth move for you?
This is season 7 of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy. And we scoured the internet this week and other sources with our staff. Find out totally useless information just for you.
Plus, we will answer your questions in our mailbag segment. And in the news this week, this cracker has a tracker.
Totally useless information. It's everything you never needed to know.
As voted by you, the most popular jingle.
Einstein was a moron. Newton was a jerk. E equals nothing. It's science, science, science.
We ran a poll recently, and we'll hear more about it in more polls in our newsletter. But thank you for listening. More people.
And we don't call it taking a poll. From our striptease days, we call it climbing a pole.
We ask you to send us your feedback at nickandroy.com. Like we said, we'll answer your mailbag. But let's get right to the science section right here. It's about time. You've seen and heard the rocket liftoffs at Cape Canaveral in Florida, right? And you hear T minus and L minus, and you're wondering, because I'm sure, like I wonder, have you ever wondered what L minus stands for and what T minus stands for?
Don't know.
But
Have I ever wondered that?
Yes.
No, I'm not going to lie for the sake of the audience. No, I've never wondered.
Well,
but now you have me intrigued. You have my attention now, and I need to know what it is. Yeah, I do need to know, Nick.
It's everything you never needed to know. So L minus refers to the days, hours, and minutes remaining in the scheduled countdown to launch, which occurs at the L minus whatever. Okay, then T minus refers to the time remaining on the official countdown clock, where the T stands for time. L for launch, T for time. Okay?
Oh, cool.
During planned holds in the countdown process, when the countdown clock is actually but intentionally stopped, the T time also stops. The L time, however, is synced to the clock on the wall and continues to advance. It's like a lapsed time, I guess. Under normal circumstances, these countdowns remain in sync. For example, there's a 15-minute hold planned at T minus 4 minutes, which occurs at L minus 19 minutes. Once the hold is lifted and the countdown resumes, the clocks will be synced and show 4 minutes remaining, and then the countdown goes from there, and then 3, 2, 1, liftoff. We have liftoff, and away you go. So T minus and L minus.
Yeah, I have a tea time once a week. It's at a golf club. I use a 3-driver.
That's right, yes. I have a driver, and I'm really getting good at golf. I mean, I know you golf a lot in Florida. I'm up in Toronto, Canada. We do have golf courses here, and I'm telling you, I'm absolutely a master when it comes to golf, because every time I get it into the elephant's mouth.
I have a driver, too, as well, and I just got him used to opening the doors for us now.
Slam the door shut.
In ancient times, how were they, Nick?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? What did you say?
In ancient times, if you got a big cut or a wound, doctors would pull the skin together where the cut was, and then place these large ants, which would then bite the skin on the seam. Once they bit the skin and locked on real good, the doctor would pull the body of the ant off, leaving just the head that was attached to the wound. He would place a bunch of them on the cut, and by the time he was done, he had a suture. The ant's jaws would hold the cut together.
Wow.
You would then heal, and then they would take the ants' heads off.
So before stitches and sutures, they use ant heads.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Here's my teaser. Did you feel the earth move? The Richter scale, developed by Charles Richter and Benno Gutenberg. They created an instrument that was an absolute measure of the earthquake's intensity. They use a seismograph, and it's an instrument generally consisting of unwinding coil of paper anchored to a fixed place and a pendulum or magnet suspended with marking the device above the roll so that it actually records the actual earth motion during the earthquake. The scale takes into account the instrument's distance from the epicenter, we've heard that before when you hear about earthquakes, or the point on the ground that is directly above the earthquake's origin. Now, coming up in the next segment in history, I'll tell you how earthquakes were measured before the Richter scale was developed.
So it was Richter and Gutenberg, huh?
That's correct.
So Richter used the numbers like 7, 8 Richter.
Yes.
On the Richter scale. So it was like an 8 Richter. And Guten used names like strong and very and things like that. So if it was a 9 on the Richter scale, it was a very on the Guten scale. So it was a 9 Richter, very Guten.
Right, very Guten. You know what?
That was about as confusing as your thing.
Listen, that sounded very, very German. It's very Guten.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's Guten.
Guten.
When we die, okay?
Yeah.
The brain continues electrical activity for up to 37 hours after we're dead.
Even for us?
Maybe not for you, Nick. I don't know. We'd have to check and see if there's any electrical activity right now.
Put a Richter scale. You know what? Why don't you hook my head up to a Richter scale and see what kind of activity there is?
Yeah. Yours is no gluten. So 37 hours. So there may be some truth to the fact that the soul leaves the body after death, you know? Or either that or it's just the brain's taking its time to shut down.
So are you saying are you saying that I'm gluten-free? Radar, which is actually an acronym, radio detection and ranging, RADAR, and actually it's a word that spells the same backwards and forwards.
I like this one already. So radar stands for
radio detection and ranging.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It was developed over the years with input from many sources, but it was Robert Watson Watt. Robert Watson Watt.
What?
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 That's right. What's his name? Robert Watson Watt, and that's how it stuck. He was a Scottish physicist looking for a reliable method to help airmen locate and avoid approaching thunderstorms. He's the one who first designed the first set and put into practical use. So radar is a palindrome, which is a word or phrase that's spelled the same backwards and forwards. So it's a palindrome.
The old palindrome.
Thanks to Robert Watson. What?
So here's my teaser, guys. Mm-hmm. If you carve your name on a tree and come back in 10 years later, you know, like 10 years later, you walk back in, you find the tree you carved, and wow, the name will be in almost the same spot.
Really? Why?
Because trees may grow wider, but usually trees only grow taller from the top. So where you carved it at the base would normally stay very similar, but the top will have grown. So when you come back 10 years later, the tree will be 3 times the size in height, but your carving will be very, very in a very, very similar spot to where it was when you did it. By the way,
yes,
I went to the Adirondack Mountains when I was like 13, 14, 15, around there. We'd go every year. Mm-hmm. And I would carve in the trees and things like that. And later on, I went back up with my dad and my son, and we found trees that I had carved, and sure as hell, now that I think about it, they were almost in the same spot. And I never really thought about that until I saw this little factoid.
You know, I can relate to what you said, because you said the middle grows as the years go on. Yes, I can relate to that.
Yeah, exactly. And the belt size.
That's right. So I talked about radar, the palindrome. Let's talk about Doppler radar. In 1935, the weather radar was named the Doppler radar after Christian Andreas Doppler.
Oh, okay, so these guys are real vain. They named this after themselves.
That's right. And remember, he has 3 names. So anybody who has 3 names, we found out over the years here at Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, if you have 3 names, you're quite important. Christian Andreas Doppler was an Austrian mathematician and physicist. He is celebrated for his principle, known as the Doppler effect, that the observed frequency of a wave depends on the relative speed of the source and the observer.
The lotus tree.
Yes.
It's a really big in Asia, the lotus tree. Okay, but the lotus tree or bush, whichever, they found seeds from lotus trees in the ground that were 3,000 years old. The amazing thing about them is 3,000-year-old lotus seeds can still grow and sprout a new lotus tree. Isn't that cool?
I'd like to be around after 3,000 years and spread my seeds. You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We thank you very much for listening. We have 66 countries that are listening to our show right now. We are on...
Nick, I thought you were 3,000 years old.
That's right. And I have the seeds to prove it. We're also on the iHeartRadio Talk Network in Canada, coast to coast to coast. And you're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
What happened today is history. What happens tomorrow is history. Yeah.
The oldest spoken language on record is called Tamil. Tamil. Sometimes I believe Nick is speaking in that language.
I speak in a different tongue. I have many tongues.
Yeah. Usually after a few blasts of Jack Daniels, Nick's like, rah, rah, rah. It's like, are you speaking Tamil again? Okay. It was spoken by people in the region of India near Sri Lanka 5,000 years ago.
Oh.
Can you imagine? This was a recorded language. It is one of the first recorded languages ever. Not recorded, but recorded by writing. Tamil. Tamil.
Recorded because they didn't have an audio recording of it.
No.
Right. No. Okay. Because I was listening for it. I was like, where is it?
No. 5,000 years ago? No. Well, do you think they weren't using records? They didn't. No 8-tracks, no cassettes.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Just checking. Now, here's my tease to the history section. So we talked about the Richter scale in the last segment during science. Here in history, in 1902, the only way to rate earth shocks or earthquakes was a scale developed by the Italian priest and geologist Giuseppe Marcalli. The Marcalli scale used Roman numerals and classifies earthquakes from I to XII, Roman numerals, depending on how buildings and people responded to the tremor.
It's a really bad.
Right.
I give it that one a V.
So, a shock that set the chandelier swinging might rate it as a 1 or I or II on a scale.
Well, because they were so scared, Nick, that they would stutter. And they go, how bad was it? I. Oh, 3 eyes.
While one that destroyed huge buildings and created panic in a crowded city might count as an X or 10.
Ooh.
The obvious problem with the Mercalli scale was that it relied on subjective measures of how well a building had been constructed and how it used these sorts of crises, depending how the population reacted to this crisis. So as you said, now being in Italy, you would think and they make the good construction, so it wouldn't be bad, right?
No, it wouldn't be a no X. No. One, something that would cause hysteria and panic and an upsetting feeling would be an X, maybe an ex-wife.
That's right. X isn't 10. No, it's my ex was there in the middle of the street yelling and screaming. My ex.
She'll shake you up. One of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, actually in 1785, Thomas Jefferson broke his wrist.
Oh.
Yes. Trying to impress, by the way, in France, he was trying to impress this woman named Maria Cosway. I actually have her name, Maria Cosway.
Okay.
And he went to jump a fence and broke his wrist doing it. There were 2 problems. Number 1, he broke his wrist jumping a fence, which means he wasn't too strong to begin with, I don't think. It didn't really work very much, I would assume.
Right.
But the biggest problem was Maria Cosway was a married woman.
Oh.
Oh, yes. Old Tommy boy was trying to impress this married woman. And his name was Jefferson. So he was like, Maria, we can move it on up to the side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky.
So are you sure that he broke his wrists trying to jump the fence, or did her husband catch him trying to climb the fence?
No. He broke his wrist trying to jump a fence. A Parisian doctor fixed the brake by resetting it, and it never grew back correctly. And the rest of his life, he had arthritis in his hands and wrists, and his hand and wrist that bothered him for the rest of his life. So Maria did get back at him by annoying him for the rest of his life, just like he was married to her.
Exactly. So the Luftwaffe.
Luftwaffe?
No, Luftwaffe was a master interrogator.
Okay.
Hans Scharf was his name. He was the master.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Scharf.
You know him?
Oh yeah, he's a very nice man.
Well, listen, he was a master interrogator. He always got the answers, but this is what he did was he killed them with kindness.
He might have been a Luftwaffe. You might have been right, because Luftwaffe was the actual the Air Force.
Okay. Well, his tactic was being as nice as possible. His best tactics for getting information out of prisoners included nature walks without guards present, baking them homemade food, cracking jokes, drinking beers, afternoon tea with German fighter aces. His techniques were so successful that the U.S. military later incorporated these methods into their own interrogation schools.
He was like, today we're going to play some sweet love music. And then we're going to play hide the... Please tell me, where are the rest of your troops?
They're hiding the kielbasa.
First we play hide the carrot. If you don't tell me, we play hide the salami.
But could you imagine? So literally kill him with kindness, right? So he's like going on nature walks and he's getting all kinds of information from. So good for him.
Yeah, that was a nice technique, you know?
Yeah.
Tycho Brahe. Tycho. I believe that's Tycho. Tycho? I guess Tycho.
Maybe.
Brahe. Brache. In 1566, he was a mathematician. He was a master mathematician. And he believed that his formula for solving this specific problem was correct. But a Danish nobleman thought that he had the proper formula for it and thought he was correct. Tycho was so upset that he said, you know what? Let's have a duel. So they have a duel, and Tycho loses. He gets his nose shot off.
Oh, ouch.
Yep. And I couldn't find out whose formula was correct. I guess no one knows.
You know who does know? Nostradamus.
Nostradamus.
That actually was from. I actually stole that from us, so it's not really steal. Is it stealing if you take it from one of our previous episodes? In one of the episodes of News from Around the World, this lady had a tiddlywink stuck in her nose, and so we came up with the idea that it was Nostradamus who predicted that it was going to be painful for a long time. Nostradamus, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go to...
Can you believe that this guy was a stubborn mathematician and he gets his nose shot off?
Right.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. The two-step. During the Depression, there were a lot of dance marathons, believe it or not. These human endurance contests served as a way of giving financially unstable married couples a roof over their head and food to eat for a few days. So they would enter these contests and participate in these dance marathons. The dance partners would take turns sleeping while the other propped them up and continued dancing with them.
Oh, this was so they propped them up?
Yeah, well, because it's like the old-fashioned,
the longer you dance, you'd win, right?
Right, and so because you needed to sleep, so they would take turns sleeping while the other partner propped them up and continued dancing with them while they were kind of like limping, sleeping on them. Yeah, there you go. Well, during the Depression, it was really important to get a roof over your head.
Yeah. Plus, you need your sleep. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the rumor. Yes.
Well, good of you if you don't have 8 hours sleep. That's great. I just find a really good female partner. She can just dance and hold me up. You know, I'll wake up like 8 hours later. Did we win? There was a phenomenon called the Phoenix Lights.
The what? Phenomena?
The Phoenix Lights.
Okay.
And no, this is not a cigarette or a beer. No. The Phoenix Lights were probably the most documented UFO phenomenon of all times. And I never knew about it. In 1977, thousands of people in the Phoenix area saw these strange lights in the sky. There was multiple videotapes of them.
Mm-hmm.
There were multiple people calling the police department. There were police officers who saw them. There were people that were in all different types of lines of work, including people that worked for the government and so on and so forth, that saw these strange lights. Till this day, it has never been explained, and it will go down as of now as the most unexplained UFO phenomenon of all times. It's called the Phoenix Lights.
Excellent. When you said phenomena, I was thinking of that song from Sesame Street, Phenomena.
It's good that it's not the Phoenix Darks, because then nobody would have seen it.
That's right. Now let's kind of go off on a tangent here. I think
we don't.
No, well, we normally don't. The song "Mana Mana" from Sesame Street, which is now an earworm, was actually an Italian composer, Piero Umiliani. He composed these scores for spaghetti westerns and softcore sex films. So that
there you go. That's always great.
So that
you know what Bert and Ernie were doing, right?
Exactly. So Sweden, Heaven and Hell was the name of the movie, and in a scene where a bunch of Swedish models crowd into a sauna wearing little more than bath towels.
Wearing little more than their You know, Nick.
Yes.
I was talking to somebody who sent us a voice message, and I went back and forth with them.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the newsletter.
Yeah.
And because they got a birthday message and they received the newsletter, folks. You know, Nick and I, we don't ask like a lot of other podcasts and shows ask for Patreons, like people to go on, and pretty much you're begging for people to give you some donations.
Right.
And Nick and I don't like doing that because we don't really do well begging. We do enough of that with our wives. So what we really do want to do is tell you about our newsletter. It's $19.95. You get 12 issues. That's a whole year of issues for $19.95. You're helping support the show. You'll also get VIP stuff. You'll be able to communicate with us through the newsletter, and you'll also help shape the show. So go to nickandroy.com. That's nickandroy.com. Go on now, click on newsletter. You'd be helping us out a lot by doing it. We really would appreciate it, and we're trying to give you something back for you helping out the show.
Get your souvenirs here. Get your souvenirs. When Louis the XVI is what? It's 16. Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette were beheaded. It is said that people dipped handkerchiefs in their blood to keep as souvenirs.
I saw this. Go on. This is interesting.
In 2011, a group of scientists confirmed that blood-stained handkerchiefs dated from approximately 1793 was soaked in the blood of Louis XVI.
Wow. So these people, these psychos, they ran up and they how disgusting.
It is. Hey, that's a great segue into our next topic.
Bone chilling. Blood curdling. Oh, the horror of horrors. Listen, if you dare.
Louis the 16th, Nick, he had a bad temper, you know. They said he'd lose his head.
Don't lose your head over it. Wow. So, yeah, we haven't done horror in a while, so I'm going to enlighten you this week with the worst horror movies ever. Here's the first one on the list. One Missed Call is the name of the movie. When Beth Raymond witnesses the deaths of two friends, she knows there's more at work than just a tragic coincidence. Days before they die, both victims hear their terrifying moments on cell phones. Though the police think Beth is crazy, Detective Jack Andrews, he believes her. Together, the pair try to unravel the mystery behind the horrifying messages before their own phone numbers came up. One Missed Call.
Stephen King.
Yes.
Fantastic horror writer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He lives in, I believe he lives in Maine, up close to you guys in Canada there.
Okay.
He's one of them way up north guys.
Yeah.
He called the high school in the book Carrie. He called the high school Ewen, E-W-E-N, Ewen High School. Well, when the film was made in 1976, it was made by famous producer now, Brian De Palma.
Oh, yes.
And Brian De Palma said he wanted to pay homage to Hitchcock, which a lot of them did, these horror guys. So he named the high school Bates High School instead. So he changed the name on the script to Bates High School from Ewen High School in the book.
So Maine is not too far from, I'm in Toronto, Canada. Roy's in Fort Myers. So I think Maine is a little bit closer to me than he is to Roy.
Yes. Did you ever see Carrie?
Yes. She says hello.
Did you see it in the movies back then?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was some scary ass movie, boy, back then. I'll tell you the truth. I remember as a kid seeing that blood go down on her and she started freaking out. That music was crazy and people, that was good.
Yeah, you're a fan of horror films.
I kind of like them. I'm not a big horror person. I actually wrote a horror screenplay called Meet Mama.
Really?
Yeah, I'll talk about it in the newsletter next time.
That's right. Go to nickandroy.com newsletter. Check it out in a future issue. Hey, here's another movie that was one of the worst horror movies ever, Cabin Fever. Fresh out of college, 5 friends face the horrors of flesh-eating virus while staying at a remote cabin. Here's what the critics say. No need for quarantine. Enthusiasm for this inert remake is not contagious. Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
You probably can't find it anywhere. So, in 1982, the movie The Thing. This is a scene where the doctor gets both his arms eaten and ripped off. Now, supposedly, and I don't remember seeing The Thing, but this 1982 movie, this scene was so graphic and ridiculously realistic looking that people flipped out when they saw it. Well, the reason that it was so well done was because they paid an amputee who had no arms. They made arms out of fake skin and jello, placed them on the gentleman who had no arms, just stumps, and then proceeded to rip them off while filming. And it looked so real because the man had no arms.
That's quite clever because usually they use prosthetics and other, now I guess CGI, computer-generated imaging, where they would pretend that someone's limbs were taken off. But man, that's quite clever of them. Very good.
Yeah, things got a little upsetting though when they said to this particular guy, "Can you give me a hand here?"
That's right. You know what? I think he only was on the set one day, and it cost the producers an arm and a leg.
Yeah, he's a tough audience too because he never claps.
Oh my gosh! Here we go. Here come the letters and emails. nickandroy.com/contact us.
Oh, come on.
Here's another horrible horror movie, Beneath the Darkness. Beneath the Darkness. Teenagers discover a terrible secret when they break into a home of a mortician whose wife died 2 years earlier.
Yeah, but she's in the house, Nick.
Probably, yeah. Beneath the Darkness.
Yeah.
She's right behind you. Look out. There she is.
That was scary. My wife is standing behind me.
Wow.
Wow, it's right. She doesn't listen anymore, Nick.
Well, after
39
plus years, man, why should she?
Right. In Aliens, when the alien bursts out of the guy's chest. Now, most people have seen the movie Aliens. You've seen Alien, right?
Yes.
The original. And that is a phenomenal scene because you'd never really seen anything like that before until then. Well, the director of the film wanted them to be so shocked that he never told the actors that this thing was going to come flying out of this person's chest. So they got it all ready to go and then brought the actors in. So, of course, when the monster comes out of the chest, all the actors, of course, jump back because they're so scared. And it's real. So it was a realistic approach to acting.
That's the way to do it. Just like in The Godfather, the infamous scene where the horse's head was in the guy's bed, right? He wakes up and there's a horse, right? Well, apparently, and we found this out, by the way, when someone ordered a birthday message, they were fans from of The Godfather, the movie, the trilogy. And so we found out information during the birthday message research that we do. Again, go to nickandroy.com/birthdays. And so we found out that the horse's head during rehearsals was just a make-believe horse's head. When they actually filmed that scene, they used a real horse's head. And so the actor's reaction when he realized it was actually the real horse's head, that was a natural, scary reaction on his part.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. You know, when something pops out of your clothing, it could be scary. You know, I used to do that to a lot of girls in high school.
High school,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's still
they'd scream. Trust me, Nick. They'd scream.
Yeah, they're still traumatized to this day, 40 plus years later. And one of the most horrible horror movies, House of the Dead. Simon and Greg meet a group of friends. It's always a group of friends. You ever notice? They meet a group.
They're always teens too. They're always like 18 or 19. And
Yeah.
for some reason, the girls always end up losing their shirts.
Yeah, exactly. There's a gratuitous topless scene. It's like, what is that?
And they always go to the wrong place. You know, like, let's run to the attic.
Well, these people here, these
Why, you stupid idiots?
don't go there. And everyone's yelling at the same time in the movie theater. Don't go there. Yeah. So they meet a group of friends and they set out to attend a rave on a remote island. But then this is what happens. They miss the ferry. They decide to ride with Kirk, a smuggler. They find the island deserted and discover that the partygoers have been killed by zombies. Now, the group must evade the deadly creatures and try to find safety. However, the only means of escape, Kirk's boat, has been overrun, forcing the
Wait a minute. So he would be called Captain Kirk?
That's right. Captain of his boat. So Captain Kirk's boat has been overrun, forcing the survivors to ward off the undead on their own.
That's right. And at the end of the movie, it's just Kirk pulling in with the boat. Yeah. And they're like, is there anybody else on it? He's like, no, but I've got these 4 women's T-shirts I'd like to show.
Just like William Shatner would say, has anybody seen these shirts?
Yeah, I have the shirts and these 3 selfie pictures.
If you ask me, it's all illogical. I went there.
In the movie Aliens, 1979 again, right?
Okay,
we just spoke about Aliens. When they get to the chamber where all the eggs are, remember there was the one chamber where all the alien eggs were?
Yes.
It's like towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
Well, remember there was this eerie blue light? Well, it was these laser lights. And they got this eerie blue light, laser light thing. Well, I love this fact. Because of money constraints, they borrowed them from a stage crew of a rock band. They actually belonged to the band The Who. They were part of their stage show. They were blue laser lights and part of their stage show. Well, They used these lights in the movie Aliens in 1979 at the end to show this eerie blue light.
That's
Isn't that cool?
That's fantastic.
I like that, yeah.
Well, you know what else is fantastic? nickandroy.com. You go to the website. We made it really simple for everybody because, well, if we can figure it out, so can you.
Yeah, 'cause we're pretty simple.
Yeah, a couple of simple things. It takes shallow men to realize how deep they are. Something like that. That was deep. nickandroy.com is our website. Check it out. You find out a full library of previous episodes. You find out all about our birthday and anniversary messages we're talking about. You can also sign up for our newsletter for $19.95 for a whole year of totally useless VIP newsletter for you.
The birthday messages are cool, folks. I mean, go on nickandroy.com. Look at the birthday message. Anniversary message, birthday message. We're working on all different ones as well, but they are awesome. You'll hear a sample of it, but honestly, it is the greatest gift that people get on their birthdays. People are flipping out. We get so many emails from people that have gotten these messages. They love them and they buy them for their family and friends.
And for a limited time only, you'll get a free 1-year subscription to our newsletter when you order a birthday or anniversary message.
And for a limited time, you get not only yourself, but the person you're sending it to gets a free. Now think about that. That's $19.95. So you get 2 subscriptions for 12 editions of our newsletter. Plus you get the birthday message. So you're actually paying less if you buy a birthday message and getting 2 subscriptions. So you're basically ripping us off, folks.
Yeah, we're paying you. Thank you. nickandroy.com.
What's in the mailbag? What's in the mail?
This week's mailbag comes from Donna. Donna from Iowa City, Iowa. Dear Nick and Roy, we love your show. I don't know how you guys do it week after week. You know what? Neither do we. But thank you. You must.
What is it that we're actually doing?
I have no idea. You must really enjoy doing the show. I also noticed that you don't have to listen for too long before you realize that you two are best of friends. Yeah, whatever. Yes, it's 43, 44 years now that we're friends. So believe it or not, my gosh. Here's her question. Donna says, where did the expression "get off your high horse" come from? Well, Donna, thank you very much for your email. And the expression of "get off your high horse" comes back to the 1300s. The phrase refers to a large horse, often a war horse. Those with military or political power would often choose the biggest horses to ride in a display of their power. Because of this height put them physically above the crowds, people began to use this metaphorically. The expressions like "get off your high horse" developed later, some in the latter half of the 1700s and into the 1800s, as a way of describing someone who acts like they think they're better or above others.
So, right. They're like, "Get off your high horse and I'll kick you a donkey."
You mean kick? Okay, let me translate that for the intelligent impaired. Kick your ass.
He said ass.
That's right. This program is closed captioned for the intelligent impaired.
I have a mailbag. Kelly from Inverness, Ireland.
Oh.
How cool. I love that. I want to go to Ireland. It looks beautiful.
Top of the podcast to you.
Top of the morning to you. She says, "I love you guys.
Aww.
I love your humor, and I love the fact that you guys are really having fun doing the show. Thanks so much. I have turned so many people on to listening to it." And then she says, "I want to get your newsletter, but I'm short on money."
Oh.
So she said, "Could you help me out and send me your newsletter for free?" So I have a plan here, Nick.
Yeah.
So I say we're going to send Kelly her newsletter for free if she sends us the name of 10 friends that she turned on to the show.
I like that.
Okay. So Kelly, if you're listening now, and we will email you back, but if you're listening now, you need to list 10 friends that you turned on to the show, email it to us, and we'll send you a free subscription to the newsletter.
Right.
And for those of you out there that think you're going to pull this, come on now, be nice.
And Kelly, make sure they're actual, like real people with real email addresses. On the show today, we talked about science, we talked about history, and we scared you with some horror. It's time for the news.
And now, from around the corner and around the world, this is TUI News.
It's been a while since we visited the state in the United States in South Miami, Florida.
Florida again.
Surveillance video recorded in early January shows the crew outside of a home near Dante Fasel Park. One thief used a rock and a boulder to try to break a hurricane impact-resistant glass door as the family slept inside. It's like horror again.
Yeah.
Detectives say the thieves found a parked Mercedes-Benz with a key fob inside, and they were trying to get to the keys of a parked Bentley.
Ooh.
Their modus operandi is to wear dark clothing.
Wow, Nick said modus operandi.
Right, yes. Isn't that a brand of car?
No.
Oh, that's a Hyundai.
Although they were trying to steal a car, so it sounds to me like that word would fit.
That's right. Can they operate a vehicle? So their modus operandi
Oh,
is...
folks, by the way, on next week's show, we'll tell you what modus operandi means.
That's right, exactly. Their modus operandi, again, in case we can't wait till next week, their plan was to wear dark-colored...
Their plan.
That's right. So their modus operandi, their plan is to wear dark-colored clothing and to break into homes in search of key fobs for luxury cars. We are able to track one of these guys responsible, plus 13 other cases, according to Sergeant Fernando Bosch of the South Miami Police Department. Joshua Reed, 19, was out on bond for Grand Theft Auto, not the game, actually Grand Theft Auto, and has a pending case in Palm Beach County, appeared in Miami-Dade court recently. We were able to track Joshua Reed because he had a county court pre-trial release GPS ankle warrant bracelet.
Oh, no.
When he was part of the crew's crime spree.
So he had the tracking device
That's right.
on his person when he steals the car, which, by the way, the Bentley has a tracking device in it as well.
Exactly.
So basically, the cops are sitting there going, which one do you want to use to catch these guys?
That's right. Detectives.
And oh, look at that. They're on their way to Stupidville.
Yes. Just outside of Rikers. Detectives questioned Reed at the North Miami Police Department on the other day, and he denied it all.
Apparently, he couldn't read, because if he could have, he would have read the ankle bracelet, which said,
Yes.
This is how we're going to catch you.
Detectives were still searching for Reed's accomplices. Reed is facing 4 counts of burglary.
Check the trunk.
That's right, yes. Always check the trunk. Reed is facing 4 counts of burglary of an occupied dwelling. This is police speak. Basically, it's a home invasion. 4 counts of burglary of an unoccupied structure. Maybe it was the shed. 2 counts of first degree.
What are they talking about? His forehead?
That's right. Unoccupied structure. 4 counts of possession of unoccupied structure. His head. 2 counts of first-degree grand theft. 2 counts of second-degree grand theft. And third-degree grand theft of a vehicle. Armed grand theft of a vehicle and criminal mischief.
It would have been so much better had they gotten the guy from the Muppets to do it. He would have been like, 1 count.
No.
The count. 1 count of robbery.
So we had like the trifecta. First degree, second degree, third degree. Therefore...
So wait a second. So now, did they find the other guys?
They're still looking for them.
Well, because they didn't have ankle bracelets.
That's right. And that's why I call this the cracker had a tracker.
Oh, my God. I mean, that is insanity when you think about it, Nick. I mean, why would he do that?
Absolutely nuts. But anyway, he's thinking about it in jail right now. And you know what? He's all locked up and nowhere to go. That's all the time we have for this episode of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We will scour the internet among other sources, and our staff will do the same, and we will gather totally useless information just for you.
Well, until then, folks, we want you to tell everyone that you know. Put it on Facebook. Put it on Instagram. Tell everybody that Roy and Nick are the greatest people in the world. We're humanitarians and philanthropists as well.
Right.
And we're also full of it.
Yeah.
So,
Useless information we are.
tell your friends. Until next week, we'll see you then.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy.
Thanks for listening.
Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy is a production of nickandroy.com. Visit nickandroy.com to access the full library of episodes or wherever you get your podcasts.